Special Operations, Covert Ops, Espionage, The Team House, with your hosts, Jack Murphy and David Park.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 140 of The Team House. I'm David Park, the co-host Jack Murphy. Tonight with us is Ryan Hendrickson, who wrote Tip of the Spear. Ryan is a former Navy, former Air Force, and former Special Forces, won the Silver Star, and just his story alone is worth talking about. But something even more topical, and we will get to a story because it's incredible, but something that's very topical is Ryan right now is also in Ukraine. And Ryan, can you tell us a little bit? And normally we start the show by asking people their origin story, how they grew up, and what led them in the military. And we'll get to all that in a second. But if you'd like to tell us sort of what led you to Ukraine.
Yeah, no, first of all, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's awesome. So Ukraine, I was actually a government contractor at the time, and probably about 4 days, within 4 days, I decided, no, I don't want to be a government contractor anymore. Yes, I want to do something more. And I don't know. It was just, you know what? I wonder if they need wonder what I could do, what kind of help I could be in Ukraine. So I got to thinking, I've done enough trigger pulling time. So I wonder, what else can I do over there? Because I'm not a missionary. I'm a Christian, but I'm not a missionary or anything like that. And I have a buddy, David Cunningham, who told me, hey man, we got this group in Kyiv, and what they do is we load up vehicles with, food and supplies, and we take it into areas that the military has just liberated, or take it into hard hit areas and get food and comfort and hope to people that need it. And then, also we'll load up vans full of people and get them to bordering countries for safety. I was like, yeah, let me give this a shot. So yeah, it was like 4 days from flash to bang. And I was in Poland kind of looking around, wondering like, oh, I actually did this. So that's pretty much how it all went down. I quit one job and came over here to volunteer. And I guess when I get home, I'll figure out what I want to do when I grow up.
And so is this like a church organization, or is it a non-governmental organization, or how is it run and funded?
So it's actually a missionary organization, and even though I'm 43, it's called Youth with a Mission, or YWAM, and yeah, they're all over the world doing missionary work. But I guess my buddy, he's very well connected with YWAM, and what kind of appeased to me was the fact that it was more getting out and helping the people, and not doing what I'm not good at, and that would be, what I thought was a missionary was you're walking around with the Bible and you're trying to preach the word of God to people, which is fine. It's just not me. Right. If you want to know my beliefs, we can talk, but if not, then okay. But it was just the fact that they were out, and their way of, I guess, preaching was through help, and that help is supplies and food and giving people a little bit of hope that as I've come to see over the last 2 weeks, have lost everything, and in some destruction that, again, I've been to Afghanistan a lot, but I've never seen anything on this scale.
So what have you seen? Like when you first got there, and since then, where have you been, and what's your general impression of?
So when I actually first got here, I kind of felt for a minute, like Jason Bourne. I thought I was like, yeah, this is great. Just made it across the border into Poland, and then I came to realize, like, a lot of people do that. You're not that cool. It's like, dang, that sucks. But I got into leave, and then from leave, it took, so we stayed the night there, and then because of all the curfews and everything like that. And then the next day, we started our movement to Kyiv, and I was thinking, I'm driving into this just because of the news and everything. I was thinking I'm driving into this bombed out city. This is gonna be, I guess, Aleppo after the Russians were done, kind of thing. And yeah, so we start to drive, from Lviv to Kyiv, and every checkpoint we hit, Ukrainians are looking at my passport. They're just like, "Are you a real American or kind of an American?" It's like, I'm a real American. There's no ties to Ukraine or anything. It's cool. Well, and they kept thanking me for coming in, and I was just like, dude, you guys got your own shit to worry about. You don't need to be thanking me for anything. But there was a point in the trip where you're coming up over this bridge, and I didn't realize how big Kyiv was. It's huge. It's massive. And so the amount of troops that Russia brought to Ukraine to take over the country I was like, oh, dude, you guys greatly you did not know your geography, just like me. This place is huge, and it's beautiful. It's an amazing looking city, but with all the beauty, like, everything's fortified. There's DFPs everywhere. The roads, there's serpentines nonstop. From the the metal, like, crackerjack barricades everywhere. I don't know what they're called, but and it's just, and everyone's packing, and I was just like, wow. But yeah, the city was absolutely beautiful, and well, I mean, it still is. I'm still here, but the city is beautiful, and it wasn't what I thought. I was thinking, again, Aleppo or something like that, and then yeah, I got in first week. You're hearing the explosions out, on the outskirts of the city and everything like that, but it wasn't. That's what I expected. It's like, okay, hey, it is a war zone, and it wasn't until the government had taken back. So the Ukrainians had taken back Irpin and Bucha. It wasn't until I actually was like, oh, this is what, okay, gotcha. This place is, yeah, this is bad.
And what are you finding when you go into these recently liberated areas? I mean, these were areas that were held by the Russians for over a month. The entire world is seeing news about the discovery of mass graves, civilians executed with their hands tied behind their backs, some really horrific scenes. As someone who is there and has been there recently, I mean, what was your experience seeing in these neighborhoods?
Yeah, we've been going back to Bucha. So Bucha and the surrounding areas of Irpin, Bucha, and then there's a village people aren't really talking about. They call it Big Demerka. It's absolutely flattened. And we went in there with hundreds of bags of food. And what I mean by a bag is we have, a bag would be the rice and the oil and, just everything into one bag that they can live on for, well, I don't know how long, but hopefully long enough to where we can get back with another one. And yeah, we gave out like 13. That was all the people that were left there, whether they were evacuated or, I don't want to speculate, but they're underneath the rubble. I don't know. But the stories, the civilian suffering, it's, I mean, in war, it's everybody knows civilians are the ones that suffer the most, but I've actually never seen it on this level. Mm-hmm. Because of the amount of destruction in, Bucha and Irpin, and then especially like Big Demerka. Absolutely devastating. And so, Ukrainian grandmothers are famous around the world because they're very hard. They're hard women. And, they're usually the ones that stayed behind because, I learned, in Ukrainian culture, it's for, babushka, or I think that's what they're called. It's better to die than to leave your home. So that's the majority of, of who's coming out of, I guess, the rubble and whatnot. And so the stories we're hearing, one lady, it really, it was pretty big eye opener for me. She found out who we were and, came out, and then, just obviously tears. Well, I don't know about obviously, but tears start flowing. And she told us her son, went out to get food, and the Russians had, killed him, shot him. And so she got his body, and they wouldn't let her move him. And then when she was able to move him, she could only move him to a park bench, and she had to go to the commander of the town and request his permission to bury her son. And he said, no, you have to wait for 3 days. And then she couldn't bury him in the cemetery. She had to bury him in the park where we were delivering food to her. So I kind of sat there and I just thought, like, man, you had to, the guys that just did this, you had to ask their permission to put your son in the ground. And yeah, they said no. It's wow. So, just stuff like that. And I guess, as far as the devastation, and those stories are nonstop. And then, one of the parts of war that, I guess that bothers me probably deeper than anything else is the rapes. And it's not really being, talked about that much. So, but people can do their research. It's whatever. But yeah, that's seeing those people. It's pretty rough.
Well,
So.
I mean, if you're not comfortable talking about it, it's okay, of course. But I mean, if there is something that you want to share with, the world right now, I think that now's a good time to let people know what the hell is going on over there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of suffering. I'm a very big, I guess, supporter of if, I don't listen to a lot of people when they say, oh yeah, this is happening or this is going on, back, whether it's the States or whatnot, because people will spin stories their own way, for their own agenda or their own experiences or what they want people to get out of it. And, yeah, I do believe, what I'm hearing, and I do believe what I'm seeing, because there's a look on a person's face that's been, that's had everything taken from them. And, it's this, hey, I don't know how to explain it. It's just, it's pretty much, I guess the easy way to say it would be shell shock, but that's only a term so people can understand it. It's just, they're just ghosts. Mm-hmm. I don't know. They're blank.
It sounds,
and
sorry.
When they find out that we're there to help, it's the breakdown of because I mean, we were in Bucha, 48 hours after the Russians left. And when they find out, that that's what we're there to do. And there's no tricks. There's no, it's just one human being caring for another. I've never seen breakdowns like that before. I'm not going to lie. Yeah.
It sounds as if a lot of the things or there's at least a pattern of behavior that goes outside of combat, that there's just like this undercurrent of cruelty of this campaign. I don't know if it's a campaign. I don't know if these are random events or if it's like in East Timor where it was a pattern. But it sounds like there's just a lot of cruelty going on in addition to
The war.
the war.
All I could do is give my opinion from my experiences that I've seen. And my experiences are limited to the surrounding areas of Kyiv. And I mean, yeah, there's been some horrific stories that have come out and that are continuing to come out from these surrounding areas. And I mean, yeah, when we get in there, I just, again, I'm very skeptical all the time, but when we get in there, I'm like, this makes sense. It's look around. Yeah. And then you're seeing what's targeted, what's not, and the randomness of a lot. It's kind of a disgusting term, but we got a tour of Demerka by some, the villagers that were there, and one lady walked us through the events that unfolded. She said, tank pulled up, broke through the fence, went out into the field, and you could see all the tracks and everything. Then swiveled, you can see the tracks, and turret swiveled over towards her house and just started letting rounds fly. And you could see the recoil from the tank as, round fires and the tank shoots or recoils back. And yeah, she was walking us through her house, and it's gone. She lost everything. And she just, she found out I was American. Of course, there's a lot of questions for me on that, but she found out I was American, and she said, why? Why has this happened? What did I do? I said, I don't know. Like, I can't answer that. So, yeah, so it's stories like that. And then, there was another older man, and he walked us through his house, and his grandkids' room, and it's just, it was a target, and I don't know why. So, and that's the thing, is the city's full of that, just indiscriminate. Fuck it, man. Let it fly. See what happens. So, I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know why they were targeted. I don't know, I don't know the thought process behind, the military objective for some of what I've seen in these areas, but it doesn't meet the common sense test to me. Maybe. No.
Right. And it doesn't, I mean, to you, somebody who's been in combat, quite a bit of combat, it doesn't look like collateral damage. It doesn't look like rounds that went astray. It looks like
this isn't the way that you were trained to conduct warfare.
Oh no, we would be under Leavenworth if this was how we conducted ourselves. And as we, as these places have been, liberated, and people are now, I mean, they're scared shitless. There's people that are still hiding out because they don't know if it's a game, if it's a trick. I guess there was a lot of that being done. But as people are starting to come out, the stories that we're getting is just like why? Like that's hate on a whole different level. Mm-hmm. So, but again, I'm not the end all be all when it comes to war, and I know there's people that are listening right now that have seen some real war, and this is my experience, and I've never seen collateral damage on this scale before. it's, there's a lot of people that have seen some really, really bad stuff, but this for me is, as far as civilian suffering, is the worst I've ever seen. So,
And Ryan, I mean, for our viewers who don't know you and know your story yet, and they will, but you're not a stranger to war.
no. Yeah, no. Seen a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we really appreciate you sharing these experiences with us and getting the word out there. You've been posting some videos that you've shot on social media as well. And, I mean, I appreciate that you're not trying to speculate or trying to like be the end all be all oracle of the war in Ukraine, but at least sharing your own experiences and your own observations kind of helps the rest of us understand what's going on in some of these neighborhoods that you visited.
Yeah, and that's one question. I chose to post about it, and it's not because the only reason why I chose to post daily videos and updates is for one fact that people need to know what's going on, and it needs to be outside of the news media. I understand that the media has a job to do, and I understand what sells. I know what gathers viewers. But they also need to look at, what's actually happening on the ground. And for me, the Ukrainians, they have a very, very good hold of what's going on. And when I'm saying like areas that were just recently liberated 48 hours ago from the Russians, security is tight. So I'm not worried about anything to do with me. There's leave behinds everywhere. But they also know those areas, and we, as it's weird to call myself, but as a civilian, which I was in 18 Charlie, so I'm like, give me a detector, put me in, coach. But they have those areas. They have a very good handle. It's impressive. It's very impressive to see, how their security posture and just their, what they're allowing us to do, because we have a ton of food that we're bringing in. And I mean, there'll be lines of cars waiting to get through a checkpoint, and they'll bring you up to the very front and thank you for everything you're doing. And this kid just got out of Donbass or Murray Pool, and he's just like, thank you so much. I mean, the care that they have for their own, well, yeah, I mean, I guess some places around the world would benefit from having that kind of camaraderie with their own people. But yeah, it's impressive. It's impressive.
Ryan, for people who want to follow your posting and kind of keep abreast of what you're putting out, where can they find you?
So I don't remember my LinkedIn. Maybe Ryan Hendrickson. I don't know. But on Instagram, it's Tip of the Spear RMH, and that's where I'm at. And then it shoots over from Instagram to Facebook somehow. I don't know, through magic, I guess. And then, then I post a lot on updates on LinkedIn. And believe it or not, I put together a Twitter account. Still don't know what I'm doing, but I post there, and it's just Tip of the Spear. Also on or Tip of the Spear 42, I think, on that account. But yeah, I'm just trying to get the word out. I think I should have a better handle on where people can follow me, because I always forget.
That's all right. They'll find you.
Yeah. We'll go and dig up all of those links and put them down in the description of the video later. So
Yeah.
And unless there's any final thoughts or anything else that you think people need to know, I mean, Dave, we can move on to talking about Ryan's personal story.
Yeah. Ryan, I know when we were talking before the show, you're like, well, I really haven't done anything that nobody else has done, but I'm going to have to say liar. I'm going to have to argue with you, because your story it's quite unique, and it's quite incredible because it's not just a standard combat story. I mean, you really went through something. I mean, quite amazing that you did. So one of the things we always like to do, because Jack and I are big comic book geeks, is ask the people on our show, like, what's your origin story? I mean, would you come from another planet and are powered by our sun, bitten by a radioactive spider? Like, where did you come from? How did you grow up? And what led you eventually to the military?
Yeah, so that's so I claim Oregon as my home. I was actually born in Northern California, a small logging town called Fall River Mills. But I claim Oregon because we went there at a young age, and that was the influential, years of my life. And yeah, it's just easier to claim Oregon than California. Anyways, but yeah, so Oregon did the normal kid stuff. Wasn't I mean we were poor. We moved around a lot, but that's the 80s. Everybody was poor, so it's just kind of how it worked. And in the 80s, you actually just sucked it up and moved on. Didn't really cry about it because no one gave a shit. And turned 18, and my dad, he basically said, "Hey, look, dude, I'm not gonna let you be a 40." Shit, what am I, 43? I'm not going to let you be 43-year-old man pumping gas at the gas station, telling about your high school senior year, homecoming game. Like, you got to go. And he's like, I don't care what you do. I highly recommend the military because his time in service and in Vietnam and whatnot. He said, but you can't stay here because if I let you stay here, you're never going to leave. And so the military was always, it was always going to happen, whether it was from his influences or just because, I mean, I had to face the facts. I'm not college material. It wasn't going to happen for me. So, started off, this was in the mid 90s, so 97, and nobody really needed anybody. The Army recruiter was like, yeah, man, I mean, we can get you into infantry in like 8 months to a year. I mean, we don't really need anybody. Air Force, they are like, no, dude, you're a special kind of stupid. It's like, all right, cool. The Marines, oh God, that recruiter was so scary. He was like big buff dude, and he had this huge dip in, and he was just yelling and screaming and shoes going everywhere. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to be a Marine. Oh, I mean, this guy is really scary. So he scared me out of the Marine Corps, and then the Navy recruiter is just like, just like a little swag to him. It's just, yeah, man, you want to go to exotic ports and meet exotic women? Just, yeah. It's like, yeah, you want to be a Navy SEAL, Top Gun fighter pilot, Tom Cruise? Yeah. It's like, cool, man. Sign here, E1, Navy. It's like, all right, it's gonna be great. So.
And you went straight to Top Gun, right?
Yeah. I went straight out to the USS Shreveport and figured out what a bosun's mate was, and I was like, this is bullshit. No one's. Yeah, I figured it out real quick. And being a bosun's mate in the mid '90s, that was an eye opener. But I did what my dad wanted me to do. I saw the world and traveled everywhere, and was a part of the incident with the USS Cole, and got my eyes open to pretty much the first salvo in the War on Terror, and then against the military target. And then did the Navy gig and got out in 4 years. It was April 2001. It's like, man, there's just really nothing happening. The world is boring. And so I tried my hand at being a civilian, and didn't work out so well. And then boom, September 11th. So I'm sitting there trying to figure out, like, what do I want to do with my life? I don't really know. Is this going to be Somalia where we're going to go in and fire some rounds and do some, well, I can't compare it to Somalia because the guys over there, they're every single one of them heroes. But is it going to be one of those things we're going to fire some tomahawks and then call it a day? And then we went into Iraq 2003. It's like, okay, this is actually a thing now. And so I joined the military again, but my ex-wife, and great woman, but my ex-wife, she was prior Army, and she said, absolutely not. You are not joining the Army, because I wanted to come in as 2003 under the XRay program to be a Green Beret. And I was like, oh, okay. So agreed upon the Air Force, and then we got divorced, and I went blue to green in 2008 to be a Green Beret like I was going to do in 2003. And then boom, everything just kind of went from there, and went to 7th Group. And yeah, it was a crazy military journey, I guess you could say, to where I am. Well, not now, I'm retired now, but to where I, retired out of was in 7th Special Forces Group. So
before we pick it up there, I just want to give a quick shout out to a sponsor of the podcast tonight. It's Chill Boys. And Chill Boys makes underwear and actually socks too. I've been wearing their socks, and it's all made out of bamboo cotton, and it's super comfortable. And I hope you guys will go check it out. People who watch this show that can use the promo code TEAM15 for 15% off their first purchase. That is at chillboys.com.
Keep your boys chill.
And the promo code is TEAM15 for 15% off your first purchase.
Do you want to do Boikeys real quick too, since we're here?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's just do Boikeys, because we love Boikeys.
There you go.
So, have you had Biltong?
no,
No. Do you like beef jerky?
I love it.
So Biltong is better than beef jerky. It's where does it come from? South Africa, right? Is where it originated from.
And I think we ate 3 or 4 bags.
Yeah.
before the show.
So this great company, Boikeys, who
Tim
won?
Stapleton.
Yeah.
Tim Stapleton, former NHL player, played in Russia. He actually played in the Donbass and had to cancel a game because they bombed out the arena. Fun fact. He runs this great company called Boikeys, and they do Biltong. You can check them out.
Yeah, so it's a healthy, nutritional snack. Better than beef jerky, but a lot more tender. I mean, it's delicious. We love Boikeys. But check them out. Order some. It's BOIKEYS.com. Promo code TEAM10 for 10% off. Like jerky, but healthier and better. Well, I mean, I didn't have to read that to know that. It is. I mean, there's not all the sodium in it that you get in jerky and the
Oh,
preservatives.
it's super good. And there's the normal kind, and there's the what is it? The chili.
Yeah, the spicy.
Chili got me bad.
It's good.
It was super
I like
hot.
it.
Yeah.
So yeah, use the promo code TEAM10 at boikeys.com for 10% off. All right. So back to our regularly
Back
scheduled
to you.
program.
Now, I just want people to know that you, and I understand, like, we're kind of focusing more on your time as Special Forces, but you've left out quite a bit. First off, your family story is quite fascinating. Your dad's experiences, I mean, his literal sort of come to Jesus moment, when he went to go visit his ex-wife's brother, right? I mean, like, you have a very fascinating childhood, and I think that there are a lot of things that sort of lodged at that point that sort of stayed with you over time that you had to overcome, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was a pivotal moment in my dad's life. And when he was, going to my Uncle Steve's house, he was going there to drop my sister Wendy and I off. And he had his shotgun in the car, and he was, he was going to end his own life. I guess the Vietnam demons, just kind of, and then just life in general. But thankfully, as people probably read in the book, there was, and it, you can take it for what it is, whether you believe in miracles and angels or not. That's fine. It's up to you. But I believe that an angel, visited him that day because the guy came up out of nowhere. It's like, you just creep around out in the woods waiting for a dude to want to blow his brains out to come up and spread the word of God. Like, what's up, dude? But yeah, he did. Hey, you look like you can use some help. And the dude ended up being a preacher, and my dad never saw him again and all kinds of stuff. But that was the night my dad found God. And,
Wow.
So it was, and we're over at my Uncle Steve's house trying to, I'm just a little kid, but my sister remembers it very well. But, over there trying to figure out what's going on. And yeah, I mean, it was about ready to be a real bad day for a guy that, just had in his mind, he just had no other options. And unfortunately there's a lot of people today, a lot of veterans today that have hit the same spot as my dad did. And yeah, they're that angel, the suicide rate's high, and it's unfortunate, and it's heartbreaking. And it's, what's even worse is you can't really talk to someone in the military that doesn't know of somebody or knows somebody personal who hasn't committed suicide. And so I'm just like, wow, that's, we got to do something about this. So.
And your dad actually became a pastor out of that, right?
He did. He ended up going to Bible college, and then, this is all not right off the bat, but this is all throughout the years. Went to Bible college and then pastored a church for a while, which is what brought me to my the town that I call my hometown, because that was the place I lived the longest at. I was there for 5 years, but Lowell, Oregon. And so I call Lowell my hometown because, 5 years was the longest I ever lived in one place until I joined the Army and got stationed at 7th Group. And once we made the move from Bragg over to Eglin, it's like, wow, I've been here 10 years. Holy cow, I guess this is now my new hometown. So, but I'm always going to be an Oregon Duck and a Seattle Seahawks, so I gotta stick with Oregon. But yeah, that was up to that point. Lowell, Oregon, 5 years, as long as I ever lived in one spot, and it's like, yeah, all right, Lowell, Oregon's hometown, then good.
And then you went into the Navy, and then you went to the Great Mistakes, right? And then for your boot, and for the people who don't know how. Like, what is the exciting, sexy life of a boatswain's mate on board a ship?
Yeah, I mean,
did you chip paint?
Know. Oh yeah, chipped a lot of paint. I busted a lot of rust. I was on an amphib first, so I mean, well deck operations, and then but it's, you work hard as a boatswain's mate underway at sea, when you're not doing daily tasks, whether it's underneath the needle gun or in some lead-based paint locker and you're in there sanding away, not knowing what you're doing, you're funny because it's the 90s and no one really cared. You're standing watch, and you're either driving the boat, which is the helmsman, or controlling the engine, which is the lee helmsman, or one of the lookouts, forward, aft, starboard, port, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I mean, you work. And so the Navy actually did something correct. They were like, look, we're going to work the dog shit out of these dudes so they don't complain about their living conditions, because the berthing areas in your coffin locker and the little paper thin mat you get for a mattress is like, this sucks. So for them to not notice this, we're going to have to work the crap out of them. And so, yeah, it's like, perfect. Best night's sleeps I ever got was ship just slightly rocking back and forth, and you just got dog shit worked out of you all day. So.
And then you were in the Air Force. You were ammunition handling. You went to Qatar. And you met some SF guys there, right?
No, in Iraq I did.
In Iraq. Okay, sorry about that. Oh, Iraq.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I was an ammo troop, and that was an awesome job. Great camaraderie, family. The family atmosphere that you have in a job, especially the year I spent in Korea. That was the best year of my military career. I'll leave it at that one. But, as an ammo troop, and playing rugby for the base team, so it was pretty cool. But yeah, so I went to Iraq, and we were in Kirkuk, and there's these guys, and they'd always roll out at night, roll back in early morning, and they're bearded out, and they just don't give a fuck look. The cool guy look, I guess.
Pockets on the sleeves.
Yeah, rule number one, always look cool, and it's just like, all right. And so we'd see him, and then we'd do our own little speculation about what we thought we knew from whatever, I don't know, Jack Carr movies. I don't even know if that was out by then, but yeah, whatever you thought you knew about him. It was like, oh, I got a buddy who knows this dude. He's a can't say it out loud, but he's a Green Beret. It's like, oh shit, that's a real thing. It's like, oh yeah, and I got a friend who knows one. I'm like, oh, wow, so awesome. Stupid. Now that I look back at it, I'm like, wow, what a dumb little fanboy. But yeah, I ended up meeting these guys. One dude was in the gym, and I forgot how the whole conversation went down, but it went over, like, hey man, you give me a spot, and yeah, okay. And you're trying to be cool, like, oh, I've met a bunch of you guys, but inside you're just like, oh shit, dude, you're what we all talk about over there while we're smoking, because we think from all the war movies you're supposed to smoke when you're out at war, because that's just what you do. I've seen the movies. Yeah, we're cool, right? Not cool at all. But we ended up getting to talking, and he told me, he's like, yeah, dude, we got a guy on our team that was former Air Force. It's like, really? You can just do that? And he goes, yeah, I guess you can. He switched over Air Force to Army and went through the Q course. And so that kind of got, I guess, the little hamster running around up my head. And I always kept that in the back of my head. And then once I got in my divorce, I was going to the personnel office to change my records. I guess it's the Air Force equivalent to S1. I don't know what it was called, but and I went in there, and there's this poster on the wall, and it had this guy in a uniform, and half of the uniform was Army Class A's, and the other half was Air Force dress blues, and it said "Go blue to green." All right, let me ask about this. And it was about 2 weeks later, and I was at Montgomery MEPS in processing into the Army. Yeah.
So did they release you from the Air Force, and then you signed a new contract for the Army? How did that transfer work?
So it was called the Blue to Green program, and apparently, I guess I was a civilian for like a minute to do the transfer, and then I was picked up by the Army and just kind of started that path there at MEPS. But so there's programs now, from what I'm hearing, and I think it's an amazing idea. There's a lot more inter-service operability. So from the Air Force, you could actually, probably Air Force also, but from the Army, I had a friend who was like, yeah, dude, I'm going to go to combat control selection. And he was an officer, so I'm assuming, or it was like Crow or something. I don't know. Special tactics, whatever it is. But yeah, he goes over keeping his same rank and everything, and he's still in the Army. And then once he makes it through the pipeline,
Oh,
then
wow.
he does the inter-service transfer.
That's interesting. I
And
didn't know about that.
Yeah, and then I guess it's the same way with like the Air Force dudes going to selection.
Interesting.
And I don't know at what point you're transferred over to the Army, but yeah, you go over there, and if shit doesn't work out, it's like, oh well, I'll just go back to my old job then, which is good and bad, because having the that escape option is, that's not a good bailout you want when it really starts getting shitty and you're freezing cold and
Right.
and you're hungry.
Right. You don't want
you're
the
like,
easy
you know what?
option. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going back to Ranger Battalion. Oh boy.
Mm-hmm. Or if I don't make it through this, that looming, I'm going to the 82nd,
Right.
which again, very, very storied unit and everything like that. But you knew the minute you didn't make it through selection or didn't make it through the Q course or something like that, yeah, you're at the first sergeant's office probably the next day, signing into whatever unit he needed you at. So that was always a good, I don't really want to go and kill my body jumping out of planes every freaking other day. Full combat load and everything like that. But no, the 82nd's awesome. They're a solid organization, but that was my
Right. We got you.
Yeah.
Well, and so when you went from the Navy to the Air Force, you didn't go through Air Force Basic, correct? You went through Navy Basic, but you didn't go through Air Force Basic. But then when you went to Army, you did have to go through boot camp there. So it was your second boot camp.
Right. So there was a little miscommunication when. So I went to this warrior transition course. It was a joke. I don't know. I don't even know what it was, but it was in New Mexico, and then I showed up to Fort Benning because I was supposed to go through advanced infantry training.
Right.
So, well, I didn't really get the whole memo on what bus you were supposed to be on, and so when they, I knew how to play the game. It's like yelling, screaming started happening. It's like, all right, whatever, dude, got it. Line up here, bags here. All right, got it, whatever. File into the door. Okay, whatever, got it. And it was like a couple days, and this first sergeant said, hey, man, you Ryan Hendrickson? Yeah. He goes, dude, you're not supposed to be here. You're in holding until you get to AIT because you've already missed that AIT class. And I was like, well, I mean, okay. But I asked him if I could just stay. I went through the divorce, and I just asked if I could stay. It's like, look, man, I need to keep my mind off shit, and I actually really like this. Like, I'm having a good time here. And he said, hey, you're gonna have to play the game then. I said, okay, you got it. And yeah, it was awesome. It flew by. And next thing you know, it's like, all right, dude, you're going to airborne school now. All right, it's gonna be great. And then I realized it is not great. It was horrible. It was horrible. It's the only point where I was like, you know what? This may not be for me. It was horrible. I mean, geez, that's the worst course I've ever been to, and it's super professional. But I didn't realize how scared of heights I was until it was just like, oh, this isn't gonna be. Oh, no. I didn't sign up to do this. Just land the plane, man. We'll get off, guns blazing, do great things for God and country. It's like, no. Why would I do that? That is dumb. You know how much I weigh right now? Like, no, I'm not jumping out of this. Yeah, I hated airborne school. I was scared. Yeah.
Now, you went in with an 18 X-ray contract, so you knew that you were going straight. You went to for the 18 X-rays, though, they had a course for you guys set up prior to SFAS, though, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we had the X-ray course and pre-selection, I guess you could call it. And yeah, it was brutal. it was so brutal that when we got to selection, it was kind of a break. Yeah, most X-rays, they get selected, and it's because during the X-ray portion or the pre-selection portion,
Sopsy.
yeah, you're yeah. I mean, I just gotta tell people, just go experience it, man. I mean, it's
You went through
it's
during like the gig pit era, didn't you? Where everyone was getting Mercer and the.
my God, yeah. It was bad. It was just, but it did its job. I mean, we went to selection and it was like, this is it. Yeah. And there's people quitting left and right. I mean, I think we maxed out our selection class at 405, something like that. They were to a point to where they were actually doing rucksack inventories, like, oh, that's only 3 pairs of socks. You're gone. Failure to, follow instructions. And it's like, oh, you guys are class right now. But yeah, we started out huge, and at the end there was 56 of us still standing, and all of us X-rays. It just selection wasn't that bad at all. It's like, man, this is all right, cool, and moving on. So it did its job. The the pre-selection or the X-ray course, yeah, it was pretty brutal.
Yeah. And then from there, you went to 18 Charlie through the Q course.
Yeah.
Did you select
Yeah.
that, or is that what you wanted to do?
I did, yeah, for the demolition portion of it. What I didn't realize is stateside, you are a professional logbook keeper. You do inventories upon inventories upon inventories. And I'm like, well, what about all this cool blowing up stuff? And they're like, nope, but we got another inventory. Like, what's going on, man? What? Yeah, so I turned into a special forces, what do they call them, a logistician or something like that.
Logistician.
Yeah, and then and it wasn't until I got to Afghanistan, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, this is the coolest job on an ODA. But stateside, oh no, no. You're the jack of all trades, even if you have zero clue what you're doing. It's like, well, you went through the Charlie course, you should know this. What? They didn't teach you pallet building in the Charlie course. Like, I'll figure it out. Google.
So when you
Better
got
be
to
ready to.
when you got to Afghanistan, how did your job change? You said, what was it like there? Because it was pretty intense from what you described in your book.
Yeah, I mean, we got sent in at the beginning of the surge, and I mean, it was, Admiral Mullen flew out to our PMT just to tell us good luck. And in America, when you say good luck, that means you're probably getting fucked up. It's just, whether it's sports or whatnot. Yeah, if someone tells me good luck, I'm automatically looking for, like, where's the threat? Because why did you just tell me good luck? It's funny, actually. We were driving back from the Bucha area today, and Ukrainian checkpoint guard, he's like, "Oh, American." It's like, yeah. He goes, "Good luck." It's like, oh shit, dude. He's like, what? Why? So, but yeah, getting to Afghanistan, it was definitely as the Charlie, one of the subtasks, I guess, that is not really pounded on in the Charlie course, but once you get to Afghanistan, because explosives are explosives, is you are now the ODA's IED expert. It's like, come again? Yeah. So yeah, I just, I got with our Afghan counterparts who are truly the experts. and just started learning everything I could, because I learned on the fly with IEDs. But yeah, it was, getting over to Afghanistan was it. I mean, it was so awesome, especially on an ODA team. And now, cause I've had great jobs throughout the military. I've been really well taken care of. But I was always missing something. I was missing that, that threat. When someone says, kind of like, yeah, I'm glad I made it through that. I never had that experience before in the military, so I was just kind of, it was that question that, well, unfortunately, men for thousands of years have gone and died searching for, and what would I do when the bullets start flying?
Right.
Or I guess arrows, whatever. But what would I do? How am I going to react? And so I was able to answer that question very, very, very quickly in 2010.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
within 3 days.
So it's 2010 when you deploy. So it's later on in the war. It's like midway, but there was a surge. And I mean, I don't know how much it was still being talked about at that point, but you guys were in a very hot area. And I didn't know this about 18 Charlie's, but you were basically the EOD route clearance for patrols, the patrols in the operations that you guys would go out on.
Yeah. So, 18 Charlie, you're the demo expert for the team. And then when it comes to the situation on the ground in Afghanistan, IEDs are, that's the main killer right there. So, now, because those are explosives and you're the demo guy. So, hey, guess what? Good luck.
Good luck. Yeah.
So I learned quickly about route clearance and everything like that. And clearance operations, huge deal. And then, just started to learn the tricks of the trade. You go into a village and no one's around. You're, again, good luck. You're probably getting in a mix a little bit. But yeah, with IEDs, I mean, that's the name of the game there, and especially the areas that we were in. And, if the Taliban know you're there, and which they do, and they're gonna be putting those IEDs out there. And they started doing it in main avenues of approach, but they figured out that, we learn quickly and we'll take, the path less traveled to try and avoid the IEDs. So then they just started, well, I guess I would take this path. So I'm going to put in a toe popper here, or put in a wall charge there, or something like that. They learned from our tactics very well. I mean, extremely impressive. But yeah, it was the name of the game is IEDs. And yeah, you get, tons of gunfights, but most of the time those gunfights were to suck you into IEDs. So, because, it's not technical at all. That's a dumb word, but realistically, IEDs are extremely easy to find if no one's shooting at you. Very easy. Take your time. Just look for ground sign, look for choke points, look for places where people. I gotta go through here. Probably going to be an IED there. Very easy. You start adding in gunfire and that 7.62 zipping around, and all of a sudden it doesn't become easy anymore.
Right.
Yeah. So they like to add a little panic to it to suck you into IED daisy chains or whatnot like that.
Right. And knowing our tactics, they would set up ambush points where they knew where you would seek cover and have IEDs waiting for you where that cover or concealment.
Oh yeah. There was, I got to a point on after however many deployments to Afghanistan, it's like, look, dude, they want to get the audio of it. They want that 7.62 zipping around, cracking all over the place. So you run for cover. It's instinctive to us.
Right.
You start taking fire, find cover, suppress. Do not take cover in a place that hasn't been cleared. Do not. And man, I would just pound it, because the 2012 trip into Panjwai, they were masters at IED in areas that we would take cover. I could go out we would we would go from mounted to dismounted, and I could look out and see a small mud hut wall. And it's like, yep, there's where we're going to take fire from. There's the daisy chain. And most of the time I was right. And it's not because I was good. They just, all of Panjwai was IED. So it was really easy to sound smart. But, it's kind of.
So I want to talk about 2012, but we got to talk about 2010 first, because that was a seminal event, right? September 11th, you crossed the Helmand River, and then
So September 11th, we kicked off this big valley clearance. It was the Chitu River Valley. So even though it was on the Helmand River, a mistake I made in the book, whatever. It was Aruzgan province bordering Helmand province.
Okay.
Like we were right on the border. My bad. I overlooked that part. But we were clearing all the way up to Firebase Cobra from basically the Helmand River Bridge. So it was a large clearance operation, multiple ODAs, commandos, Afghan SF, everything. And our ODA, we were tasked with the southern part moving north to meet up with the guys that were doing the middle push. And that was all the commandos and everything like that. So September 11th kicks off. We get to our last covered concealed, waiting for the green light. Now it's September 12th. All right, green light, start moving into the first set, or the first village. I think it was called Sartutu. If I remember correctly. But yeah, started the dismounted movement to Sartutu, and we had not seen movement there for a long time, because before that we were actually living out of this old like farm compound, chickens and stuff like that, and we had been living there for months, just doing presents. And I guess it would be. Well, it was a cop, but it would be a very long LPOP, I guess you could say, just watching movement along the river, getting in fights every single day, like clockwork. We knew when we were going to break for lunch. We knew when it was, okay, yeah, dinner's coming up. Yeah, that's probably it for the night. Okay. It was clockwork. But the problem with that is everybody up and down the river knew we were coming. Because why would Americans just be sitting there? There's no reason why they're here other than that. And there was reports about 2,500 to 3,000 fighters in the valley. And it's like, wow, this is cool. We're going to mix it up. But yeah, so from the last cover concealed, we get green light and start moving towards Sartutu. And as with everything in the military, we rehearsed it. It's like, all right, this is what we're doing. Cool. You guys got it. Good? What? Yeah, good. All right, good. Afghans are on board. All right. And we had a militia with us. And so it wasn't, we didn't have Afghan regulars or anything like that. It was a militia force. And, it's all right. Yeah, you guys want to take back your area. Cool, let's do it. Been training. You guys are badass. We get up to, I'm about 25 meters from the first set of compounds that, my element is going to clear, because the Americans, we had broken up the ODA into a bunch of different elements, 2 Americans, 12 Afghans. So I had the southernmost compounds, which strangely enough were the only ones we had ever really taken contact from. I was like, oh, okay, well, great. Maybe I got to shoot somebody. I don't know. And we get to the last point and look back. It's like, all right, guys, just like we rehearsed. Let's go do it. Go do good things for your country. Noise and light discipline. Let's go do it. All right. Hey, what's the holdup? Hey, Nick, that was our Turk. Hey, dude, tell them, let's fucking go. Mr. Ryan, there's a problem. Really? What's the problem? They said it's too dangerous. They're not going to go. But yeah, we practiced it all. Remember all the sticks and we did all this. They have to go. No, they don't. They said they're not going to go. well, what do they want to do? Sun's going to be coming up. We got to get off the high ground. I mean, what do they want to do? They said, you should go first because you're American and you're better trained and you have more equipment. It's like, yeah, if this was Texas, I would agree with you 100%. I would lead the way. But at this point in the war, this is for you. Like, no. So I turned around to tell my counterparts, like, hey, man, these guys aren't going. They refuse to go. And he grabs me and he's like, dude, get Nick away from that compound. Because we had one Turk for our entire ODA. So there's, I don't know, I can't remember how many Afghans were with us, but basically we lose Nick, you're not communicating with a militia. And pointy talkie with a militia I don't think that's a good idea when the bullets start flying. So he told me, hey, get Nick away from that compound, because Nick had ran down to the compound breach point and he was just like trying to do this Afghan Rambo thing, follow me or something. I don't know what he was doing, but stupid. So yours truly here, I was like, oh yeah, let me go down there and get him. Completely forgetting I had this thing called a mine detector that I could have cleared down to him, but no. I had, the old outrunning the headlights thing. Happens a lot with new guys, I guess. So I moved down from the compound, and grabbed him. It was like, dude, wrong move. Pulled him away from the breach and kind of pushed him back. And then I turned, so my gun was my gun was facing the unknown, because for all we know, there's people behind that compound wall that are waiting to just light us up. So I turned, so my M4 is facing to the unknown, and he starts moving back to, our last position. And, I'm kind of doing the peek over. But then out of the corner of my eye, I see something, a little shiny object that I just got to check it out, because maybe I got to shoot it. And so I stepped inside of the breach and boom, stepped on a pressure plate IED in the doorway, or breach point, whatever you want to call it. So that, I hit this IED, but I didn't actually know what happened, and it didn't hurt, but I knew that I couldn't breathe. The dust and the ammonia, and it just suffocated. And I was like, I have got to get fresh air. I'll never forget that. It's like, I am going to suffocate here. I've got to get fresh air. But I couldn't stand up. I kept trying to stand up, and I mean, we're loaded down. We have a minimum of 3 days, food, water, bag, ammo, everything on us. And so I'm probably coming in at 300 pounds at that point. But I can't stand up. And now I'm getting pissed. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Why can't I stand up? And it's like, all right, dude, calm down. Just rucksack flop it real quick and catch your breath. And so I'm just doing this slow, sips of air, waiting for the dust to kind of clear a little bit, trying to calm down. And it still doesn't hurt. And I'm like, okay, recoilless rifle, or I have no idea, because I've never stepped on an IED before. And so as the dust starts to clear, all of a sudden I start to get kind of a visual observation of what happened. And I looked down, and my leg was at a 90-degree angle. So my boot was at a 90-degree angle to my leg. And I'm looking at it. I was like, that doesn't look right. I don't remember doing that with my boot. Still hasn't clicked in. The boom and, the whole leg thing. And so grab underneath my knee and pull my leg up, and my boot flops over. And then I see these two like pearly white objects sticking out of my pants. And, again, I guess my dad was correct. I'm a little slower on the scale. And so I'm like, I wonder what that is. And then all of a sudden, bam, the pain train hit me.
Oh, man.
And, oh, man, it hurts so bad. And then I'm like, well, what do I say? I mean, I'm squeaking right now because I don't really know what to say, but okay, I'll just say I'm hit. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you're hit. Yeah. So I just started yelling, I'm hit. And, and yeah, it just kind of, wow. That's what led up to, to the day that, it changed my life, obviously. Stepped on an IED. So, but yeah, it's crazy. And it took the team a hot minute to get to me because as everybody knows, where there's one, there's five.
Right.
So they got to clear up to you and, security. And, that's why you have self-aid and buddy aid. It's, because of situations like that. But yeah, it took us a hot minute to get me out of there because medevac couldn't land where we were at. They said, hey, look, it's ICOM chatter, Taliban are celebrating, cheering, playing that stupid music. And and then they were like, oh, wait, let's ambush these dudes. Yeah, let's do that. That's a good idea. And so Overwatch position starts rocking, and we got Taliban fighters trying to close the gap because you can close the gap, then you can't drop bombs. And you can't use mortars, and everybody knows that stuff. So they're rushing to try and close the gap, and we're like, oh, crap. We are in a really bad situation here. So, yeah, tourniquets were on. I chewed up the fentanyl lollipop, so I didn't have really any painkillers in my body at all. And it just went straight from on the ground to quickest way to get him is fireman's carry. Boom. Right up on someone's shoulders. And I was like, wow, this is painful.
Well,
we have to,
you discovered at that moment that you were allergic to morphine too, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
No shit.
I got hit with my morphine injector, and I broke out with hives everywhere that you could see that didn't have blood on it. I was just like, I guess, hey, 18 Delta, I guess I'm allergic to morphine too, bro. Just in case you need to know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a mess. But it's good to know you're allergic to morphine. That's good for future reference after that point. But yeah, I just went up on Kyle. He grabbed me and was like, "Yep, this is what's happening." And we started moving. And I thought it was about 500 meters, but we had talked recently within the last month, and he told me, he's like, "No, stud, I carried your heavy ass over 1,000 meters," and I was like, "Oh." Oh, wow, dude. Okay, well, hey, thanks, man. Appreciate the help on that one, brother.
Good looking out.
But yeah, he told me some stuff that I didn't know before, and he told me, he's like, yeah, dude, you had bled out so bad. He said when I put you on the helicopter, the whole team knew that was it. We would never see you again. So, and I didn't know that, and I was just like, wow, it was that bad. He goes, it was that bad. Oh shit. Cause, one of the Deltas had a helmet cam video of it, and I begged him for it. And he said, dude, I had to delete it. I couldn't watch that. Like, oh, so yeah. Well, but
you got on the medevac, and you mentioned some really interesting things about the pilots on that medevac.
Say that again.
I said you got on the medevac, and in your book, you mentioned some really interesting things about the pilots on that medevac.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 2010. Regardless of the carnage that was happening in the back of that bird, these dudes were professional, and it was pick up the patient, and we got to get him to the first roll. Whatever it was. TK was a roll 3, or I don't know. Somebody can shoot holes through it if they want. But from the battlefield there, and yeah, it just, I'll never forget. They were just coming off a run. They had picked up some Canadians that got zipped up pretty good, and then they were in the area to pick me up. So basically most of I can't really remember how it boiled down, but it was a resupply bird. Yeah, I don't really remember. I'm kind of fuzzy on all
That's
that.
all right.
But
One of the things you mentioned that
I think it was a resupply bird that was like, yeah, man, well, fuck it, we'll get him, because there was a point in there was a conversation that was had where it was like, hey, look, one guy or an entire air crew, what do you think we're going to do? It was something like that. And they were just like, dude, we need to keep pushing back. We need to keep pushing back. They won't land. And they were able to get a hold of a guy or a helicopter crew that was in the area after just, I don't know, it was something like they were not a medevac, but they had just picked up some injured Canadians and then picked me up, and then they got a call once they dropped me off, and the engine screamed again, and it took off to go pick up somebody else. It was just, I mean, dudes were getting hit nonstop that year, and especially September of 2010. It was like, and I know that my experience, but September was probably one of the worst months in the worst year of the conflict there. But one man's experience, that's it.
one of the things that you mentioned that I thought was really interesting is that, like, the pilots, I mean, first off, they took the bird to its limits, that they were just like screaming. And secondly, though, that they didn't look back at all, that like they didn't want that. That was, I guess, just standard practice from them. They didn't want that in their memory. So they just would not look back at what was going on.
Yeah, no, very, very professional. Very, yeah, they did. I mean, they did what they had to do because, 2010. This was. I don't know. I wasn't in the air cell, but probably an hourly thing.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. So you get to, was it CAF that they took you to?
So I first went to TK,
okay,
and then from TK it was to CAF, and then CAF to BAF, and then BAF to Germany. So
okay, Terranco, that's right, TK. So when you got there, like the nurse, like you overheard a nurse, like basically opine that you weren't gonna make it.
Yeah. It's basically I was in a pretty bad position, and it's like, hey, yeah, we gotta get this guy back and start working now. I guess it was bad enough to the point to where our Delta left a note with me that said, if you're reading this, you're alive. And I was like, how bad was this?
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. Guess it was a little hair raising.
And you had what, like at least 2 surgeries there, right? You had 2 really close calls while you were there in TK.
Yeah. There was 2 close calls. I don't know how many surgeries. I would imagine 2 because of the 2 close calls. But yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how many surgeries were there. It could have been more than that. But yeah, there was. I guess I was told that I had, and I didn't know this is a word, but I had expired twice, and I was like, "Am I bad milk or something?" Like, what do you mean expired? So, but yeah.
And you got to CAF. Was it in CAF or Germany where you started having your nightmares?
So Germany is when I first realized like kind of what happened to me. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I just had this crazy ass nightmare to the point to where, I woke up and I don't know when I woke up, but I remember there's blood everywhere, and I've torn every tube out of my body, and there's a nurse, bleeding in the corner and crying, and I'm just like, what is going on? And everyone's panicking around me, so now I'm panicking, and it's just like, what just happened? And yeah, it was, it just, it was bad day, and decided to remove all the life-saving instruments from my body. But yeah, it's I don't know, kind of had to get over that one for sure.
And then from CAF, you had a stop in CAF or Germany. Then you had a stop out in Maryland, right, or whatever. And then you went to Texas.
Yeah. So the bird was dropping off patients at I don't know why I can't remember the big Army hospital
Was it
there.
Bethesda or is it
Walter Reed?
Walter Reed, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were dropping off their load at Walter Reed, and then there was a couple of us going to BAMC. BAMC was huge with the burns and limb salvage and stuff like that. So that's where I was going to. Plus, my buddy, who a couple days before me, he had both of his legs blown off. He was at BAMC. So, and some other guys that had lost limbs that I knew about were at BAMC. So that's where I ended up going.
And so tell us about your experience there, because you had, I mean, I don't even know how many surgeries you had. I mean, you went through a lot there. So what were you initially told about your foot, about your leg and everything?
I mean, basically that initially it was going to be amputated. I don't know the circumstances that led up to why it wasn't amputated in Germany or Afghanistan, besides infections. And if they can contain everything, then and get me to the rear, something like that. I'm no medical expert, so I don't really know how or why the decision was made. But I showed up at BAMC with my leg still, and this was during the time of this exploratory surgeries of limb salvage. Instead of just chopping limbs left and right, let's see if we can save them. And so I entered into the limb salvage program early on, and when it was still kind of unsure, and I was a good test subject for them, because they flat out said, like, yeah, if we can save this limb, this will be the hardest one we've had to save to date, because you technically don't have a leg. It's like, oh, well,
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Now, your doctor you mentioned is Dr. Sue, HSU, right? And basically, he's
Dr.
like,
Sue.
he gave you a 10 to 15% chance, but if it happened, it would basically be like limb
miracle?
salvage, like history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if it happened, it's going to advance, I guess, limb salvage technology and practices and whatnot, and it's going to benefit, so many other people that would, I guess, benefit from not having their limbs cut off. So yeah, but the way it was explained to me by him, and it was probably explained to me this way because he knew that I'm kind of a dumbass, but he's like, we're going to reattach your leg, dude. Like, oh, well, okay. I didn't know that was a thing, but sounds good. Let's do it. So,
I mean, there's so much in your book about personally, like, your dad showing up and basically staying by your side the entire time. And I mean, I how many surgeries roughly would you say you had over this time?
28.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of times, like you mentioned in your book, that you're like, why am I doing this? Like, I could just have it cut off and be done with it. Like, there's so much pain involved in all this. What is it called? The X or the cross?
The X-Fix?
The X-Fix.
Yeah, that exoskeleton Saw movie torture device thing. Yeah.
And not only were you dealing with the pain, but you were also dealing with like perception that people are like, oh, well, you didn't lose your leg, so it couldn't have been that bad.
Yeah, that was hard. I mean, people, the misconception of an IED blast was, if you're not missing legs, I mean, how bad could it really have been?
Right.
And it got to a point to where, I mean, I even questioned myself. I was like, am I that weak of a man to where, this is bothering me so bad, and this is such a mental minefield. that I can't, I'm having a lot of issues overcoming and I still have my leg. I mean, people said it, oh, you still got your leg. Couldn't have been that bad.
Yeah,
maybe
right.
they're right. Maybe I blew it out of proportion.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, that I can't imagine between the pain and sort of that self-doubt, and then you could circumvent all this by just saying, just amputate. Prosthetics are great,
And I know guys who were in that boat and got amputations and came back to work, with a prosthetic. And I think your story is interesting because it sounds as though the medical science reached a point. The people I'm talking about were earlier on in the war. 6 years later, 7 years later, it sounds like the medical science had advanced.
But he was the advance. I mean, you're basically volunteering yourself to be an experiment in a way, instead of going like the tried and true way. It's like, instead of like one big surgery or two big surgeries, go ahead and cut me open 28 times. Let me deal with the skin grafts and everything that goes along with it.
And being an amputee is no picnic either. I mean, from what guys go through with the prosthetics.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't mean to make light of that at all.
No, I know what you mean. I mean, like we talked to like Justin Lassick and the difficulties he's gone through as a double amputee.
Alana, yeah. So I just one of the things I really appreciate about your book was also like you talking about your internal process, and and that idea of when people you mentioned like these young soldiers or whomever, like seeing you in your wheelchair and seeing your leg and going, oh, it couldn't have been that bad, and how that like the ramifications that had for your own thought process and how you saw yourself and how you thought, well, maybe I should just get an amputation, or maybe I am just blowing this out of proportion.
Yeah. I mean, I really thought about having an amputation so people would, respect what I went through. And, in the end, it was a dumb thought process because I thought that visual, I needed that visual,
like validation
approval
of your injury.
Yeah. I needed that visual approval from people, to actually know like, oh man, yeah, this guy went through some shit. Look, he doesn't have a leg. And, in the end, it's, I don't know, but the mental mind games, that plays when you have, I went through what I went through, and probably could have easily went the other way to where I was, a flag draped coffin, but wasn't. And then to have someone tell you is like, oh, well, at least you got your leg. It ain't that bad. Like, who the fuck are you talking to, dude?
Right.
But amputees, I mean, man, their life is changed forever. That limb is permanently missing. And so there are things that I do benefit from, because I still, even though it looks like a chunk of meatloaf, I still have kind of what God gave me. Whereas with amputees, they don't, that choice has been taken away from them. And at least I had the choice to go down the limb salvage path, or to have the limb basically a couple pieces of skin cut and we're done with it.
Right.
And so, I mean, amputees, I mean, it's, I've unfortunately, as you guys do too, I know lots of them. And they didn't have that choice, whether it was because of the time of the war they got hit, or like Ben Harrell or Will Lyles or any of those other dudes, they stepped on an IED that just, there was nothing to salvage.
Right.
It was, so, but for me, at least, I had that choice. I had that 15% chance that we could go ahead and, if it works, this is going to help some people out. And if it doesn't work, well, you didn't really have a leg anyways, so whatever.
Now, I want to give a quick spoiler alert real quick, because this was 2010 when this happened. We talked about operating in Afghanistan in 2012. So right now, when you're down at Fort Sam, right?
Well, Brooks Army Medical Center.
Brooks. Okay. So you're thinking you want to get back to the fight. What are the doctors, what are people telling you?
So, I mean, management expectation is huge. If you set your sights so high and put everything into it and it doesn't work out, then that's, will you be mentally prepared to deal with that quote unquote failure, or not achieving the goals that you wanted to, whatever. So I understand the logic behind, hey man, you're not going back to combat. This is done. You're actually getting medically retired. So you need to quit going down this road of, you're setting yourself up for major failure, because you just, it's not going to happen, dude. And I did, between Dr. Shu and Johnny, they were just like, yeah, dude, screw it, man, let's do it. You want to go back? Cool, we'll make it happen. But
you're the prototypical team guy. Like, I just want to get back on an ODA.
Yeah, but the majority of people were doing what they were supposed to do, and that's you have to manage those expectations, because this is not going to happen. You are done. And so it was I mean, I don't know, again, it was it's not that I'm some badass or anything like that, because I'm not. It happened at a perfect point in the war to where they're like, wow, dude, we need to retain. So I was medically retired, and then because I was Green Beret, I was able to get a waiver to stay on, to come back on active duties, because, at the least I could go to the air cell and coordinate, bundles or, whatever, go back to Bragg and train dudes, gimp around the woods of, Camp McCall and train dudes or whatnot. We can still get some bang for our buck out of this dude that we just spent, I think, millions to train. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to say millions because it just sounds cool. But yeah, that was the open door that I needed. And again, it was just because it was that time in the military to where they're like, hey, we need dudes. So that was the open door I needed to get back to group, and then to kind of, for the most part, weasel my way back onto a deployment to Afghanistan, to the point to where it's like Sergeant Major walking up to me saying, hey, stud, what are you doing here? Like, surprise.
Well, I'm going to have to call bullshit on you saying that you're not a badass, because I think the story might be a little more intricate than what you're telling, and we appreciate you being humble. But first off, you fought them militarily retiring you, and you got the COAD, right, or the waiver. Mm-hmm. And as soon as you were back and your command sergeant major, basically, I think, supported this, right?
Yeah, Brian. Yeah. I think he supported it because he knew it wasn't going to happen, but.
And then when you got back to 7th Group under the COAD, which is, we'll put you in an admin or training role, then you got into their Thor 3 program, which was their rehabilitation program, where you start PTing, like doing physical therapy, working out like a nut. Yeah, I mean,
it's pretty much the return to war or whatnot. And it's, if you've been, most of the time, it's guys that have been injured, not wounded, had a bad jump or whatnot. And if they want to get back on ODA, you got to go through the Thor program and pass pass their I guess evaluations that you're not going to be a liability on a team. And yeah, it was hard. It was super hard, but
So you weren't just weaseling your way onto a deployment. You worked your ass off. I mean, to where you were in some ways in better shape than you were before.
yeah, and the weasel part came because the company had already deployed.
Right.
And so not many people really knew who I was because I got blown up my first year in group. And so nobody, my company that actually knew who I was, they're all in, actually the battalion was all in Afghanistan. So I was just like, hey, I'm with this battalion and yeah, I'm trying to get over to Afghanistan. They're like, all right, man, what's your name? Cool, bro. Next flight's out of here, whatever it is. And he's like, have your shit ready to go. I was like, yeah. Wait, really? Okay. So I kind of did a little weaseling.
But you also were given passing, like it was a Paul and Dana.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
And that whole process, like you were kind of blessed off of like, yeah, you're fit. Now let's talk about your foot, your leg at this point, because it's not healed. Like you still have skin grafts that are tender. You have like an exoskeleton or carbon fiber.
Yeah. Instead of having a prosthetic, you have the, IDEO device. I don't really know what it stands for. It's like intradermatic something. I don't know. But yeah, no, could have gave the skin grafts a couple more years to really, but that just wouldn't be me if I did that.
So you work your ass off, you get into shape, you get back out in April of 2012 out to Afghanistan. And what's the difference between how your command sergeant major sees you and how your company sergeant major sees you when you're back out there?
Yeah, so I flew in March of 2012 to CAF, and first person that meets me is the company sergeant major, and he asked the question that he had every right in the world to ask: "The fuck are you doing here, dude? Like, go." And then
and you were like, I'm here to kick some ass,
chew bubble gum and kick ass.
Yeah. Command sergeant major, who told me at the hospital, if you get cleared, I'll send you back to war. Yeah, he had other ideas. It's like, hey, I told him if he got cleared, he'd go back, and he got cleared. So the company sergeant major was like, all right, he'll work as a AST, I think is what it was called, or whatever it was, where you just sit at the jock, and very important job. But
the AST is supposed to be like the 13th man on an ODA. For people who don't know that, and I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but like the idea is that you're supporting the ODA and you're like the liaison between the team and the company. And if somebody on the team gets hurt, you're their replacement to go in.
Yeah, and not just that, but you're battle tracking and the jock and just all that other stuff. So, but command sergeant major was like, no, I said if he got medically cleared, I would send him back to war, and we needed 18 Charlie.
All right,
in this place called Panjwai. And I came to figure out that 2012 Panjwai District, Kandahar Province, was probably the worst place in Afghanistan. And I get out there, and pretty soon after that, we have the massacre that happens with Bales. And so then now Panjwai just becomes a hotbed for insurgents because the villagers are like, oh, well, we're safer with the Taliban than we are with the Americans. And so with insurgents comes IEDs, and with IEDs comes quite a few ramp ceremonies. So yeah, it was Panjwai District, Kandahar Province, 2012 was real bad, if not the worst place in Afghanistan at that time. My opinion again.
What was your reception like in general by the team that you went to be a member of?
I mean, the reception was what you would expect looking back, and that is flat out, this isn't a Make-A-Wish Foundation for Green Berets. You can't come out here, shoot a gun a few times, and be like, "Yeah, I'm a warrior." It's like people are dying here. We're doing ramp ceremonies. It's, this is a bad place for you to come out and try to find yourself again. Mm-hmm. But we don't have a choice. We were told you are coming out here, and until you can't hold up your side of the bargain for the team, we have to keep you here. But we're just letting you know we don't want you here because you're a liability. Everybody knows what happened to your leg, and you have no business being in Afghanistan. And I understood. Yeah, absolutely right. Can I hold up? And that's the one thing people don't understand. People could jump to conclusions like, "Oh man, those guys are assholes." They're not, because you're in an environment where people have to be able to toe the line, or other people will die. And
they're trying to survive too.
Yeah, it's not about you dying. No one cares about that. It's about you getting your buddy killed. That's the worst. And so the reception was it. And I was like, wow, this is going to be a rough go here. And I mean, it took a while, but after quite a few missions, I was able to kind of,
And you were back up front, right? Back doing the route clearance, the patrol, the point man of the patrol.
Oh yeah. I was under a mine detector very quickly. Yeah. And out finding IEDs again. And just like, holy cow, what? I'm an idiot. It's like, yeah, you're pretty dumb.
And so you were there for 5 months, and can you tell a story about how, like, what happened at that point? Like, what sent you sort of back?
Yeah, so we went out on a mission and moving into this village, and we got ticked up, and so I did, what you're trained to do in the Army, and I went and I found cover, and started returning fire, and the adrenaline's running and dust and sun glare and all this other stuff, and it's like, all right, yeah, this is great, this war is getting it, but what the fuck stinks? It's like, all right, let's continue firing and let's get some. So aircraft come on station, and all of a sudden, magically, we were never in a firefight, Taliban are gone. It's like, what is that stench? And I look around, and I'm like calf deep in a shit trench. And I was like, come on, man. I mean, really? This is happening. So, we consolidate everything, do what BDA we can. And it's like, dude, you stink. It's like, I know, man. I was in a shit trench. It's like, well, check your leg. So, we get back to the base or whatnot, and, I get my pants off, and those burnt, obviously. But I had on my skin grafts, I had open sores all over my skin grafts. Man. So the skin graft on the bottom of my foot was peeled back, and the skin grafts on my leg were all open sores. And so I had all of this human feces that was able to soak into my body, I guess, very easily. So yeah, that was an automatic medevac to calf, and from there it was that was the end of my time in Panjwai, because they were obviously concerned about infections and everything else. So, but yeah, it was a shitty way to end.
Literally.
But you had been operating at that point for about 5 months down in Panjwai, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so you get to CAF and they say, hey, we're not sending you home. You can stay here and we can clean up the infection, but we're not sending you forward again, right?
Yeah, that was pretty much, you're going to be on AST for the remainder of the deployment, which was, I don't know, at that point. I mean, it turned out to be a 10-monther, but they already had a couple months in. So it was like 3 months on AST, I think is what it would have worked out to be for me.
Until Hilltop, 2000?
Yeah. So, yeah, Hilltop 2000 came about, and it was basically the command element was going to get Overwatch position over a major clearance operation in a valley. And I think it was called the belly button or something like that. But what the command was going to do is, to get Overwatch, you have to be at a high location, and a valley clearance means you're going to have to be really fucking high. So this mission was, they were going to infill in and climb to the top of this hilltop, which, let's face it, is a mountain, but not an Afghan mountain, but we'll give it a Nebraska mountain. But where they're going to climb the top of this, but we call it Hilltop 2000 is because it was 2,000 feet in elevation gain and a little over a click. So it's pretty much straight up and down. And so the first sergeant came up to me. He's like, hey, man, can you show me how to use this mine detector real quick? I don't really know how to use it. I guess I'm going to be the guy clearing for IEDs. And it's, well, why? Like, well, I mean, we need a guy to do it. It's like, well, I'm an 18 Charlie, man. I'll do it. Okay. So, and then there was no, not happening. No, not happening. But I knew that if I could get onto this mission, then I could pretty much solidify my time, the rest of my time in group, because as of right now, people knew my leg failed, and that's why I was sitting there on AST. And so if I couldn't do anything to prove myself before we got back, then people will always know that that's the situation that happened. So I was like, I have to get on this mission. And this is going to suck. And I hope to God my leg holds up, but I got to get on this mission. So again, I was able to kind of work my way onto this mission going up, because I was like, no, I'm not going to train you how to do this. I'm going. And so again, Command Sergeant Major's like, cool, man, let's go. Yeah, you're going. And then, the guys in the background that were telling me no the whole time, they're just sitting there like, you gotta be kidding me, man. How does this kid keep weaseling his way onto things? But yeah, we were loaded out. I mean, easily 80 pounds plus. 80 pounds was light per guy. And we started moving, we infilled in Blackhawks and dropped us off and got to the base and looked up, and it's midnight. I'm just like, holy cow. Wow, this is going to suck really bad. But yeah, we started moving up, and, I got to a certain point. There's a couple guys, I can't go anymore. Just leave me here. And it's like, yeah, that's great for Gone with the Wind, but that doesn't work well in combat, dude. So we're cross-loading dudes' gear. I don't want to bash, but they were attachments. So, but we're cross-loading dudes' gear and stuff like that. And the other guy body just gives out, and we gotta cross-load his gear, and I'm still plugging along, and I'm just like, and I'm sucking. Like, there's nothing easy about this. I'm not sitting there as, Captain America up there, like, come on, guys, what's wrong with you?
Follow me, man.
I can do this all day. Yeah.
I'm hurting extremely bad. I just learned how to fake like I wasn't hurting.
Right.
Because when people see a guy that has a leg injury hurting, there's a bigger knee-jerk reaction to a guy that just is hurt. And so I learned how to fake it very well. And it was, and I knew, like, and that was the one I'm not big on being, the spotlight guy or I need people to see what I'm doing. But on that mission, we had the command sergeant major, we had the colonel, everybody with us. I needed them to see what I was doing. So I cross-load gear. I was like, I'll take it. Oh God, this is going to hurt so bad, but stuff like that. We accomplished the mission and made it back, and people.
But even on the way down, like one of the guys, like, I can't go any further. Like, dude, you don't have a choice.
I had to talk to him pretty quickly about your options in a combat zone, and it's like, look, dude, you don't have a choice, and what you're doing right now, you are wearing your pain all over your face. Everybody's fucking hurt. All of us are. The difference is we're not showing it. We're hurt just as bad as you are. We're just not letting anybody see it. And you are basically showing the entire battalion command that you're weak. It's like, you got to stop. You need to get a hold of yourself. And regardless of how bad it hurts, quit whining, because all you're doing is you are writing your own check that you don't want to cash. Mm-hmm. That was, but poor guy. He was hurt.
Yeah. You can quit when you get back to the fob, but not out here.
Yeah.
It's like, look, dude, already carried your equipment once. We're not. Gonna
Yeah. So you do this, you get back, and you sort of solidify your ability to operate to the command staff.
Yeah.
Which is really what you wanted to do, after the unfortunate infection event from the shit trench.
Yeah. I got back in there, all the other deployments I went on, because another fun fact, my paperwork actually said I was non-deployable. That's a little fun fact, but there was never, I ended up going back to Afghanistan 16, 17, 18, and then got home in 19. So all those trips as a Green Beret, and they didn't bat an eye. It's like, oh Hendrickson's on the non-deployable list. No, he's fine. He's good. Next, kinda.
He'll just take some Motrins and vitamins.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So after you left Afghanistan that time, you did trips, because you're in 7th group, so you did trips to El Salvador, Colombia, and one other, Peru, right? But I want to talk about your trip to Colombia real quick, because you had a funny story about the boa, the iguana, the goat, and the chicken. That was Colombia, right?
Oh, so was this partying with the Secret Service down in Bogota?
No, I wasn't a part of that.
Okay, cool.
Know the guys that were, but no, I dodged the bullet. Thank God.
No, you were out in the jungle.
Yeah. No, it's we went through this jungle survival school or whatnot that the Colombian Special Forces were putting on for us, and we got out to I guess where we were going to stay for the night, and after this brutal trek in, it was just horrible. And they were telling us FARC would have killed every single one of us because we're so loud. It's like, oh, okay, well, whatever. But we get out and start setting up our sleeping arrangements, and then I finally get to sleep, and I'm in my hammock, mosquito net hammock, and I can't quite remember, but I know there was like some commotion that night, and Colombian SF guys were running around looking for something, and it's like, well, what? And through loose translation, it's like, oh, we're looking for that extremely large boa constrictor that was going to be one of the meals. Oh, and it ate a couple of the other meals, and it's wandering around the camp somewhere.
And we don't know where it is.
We don't know where it is. I'm like, you shitting me, man? Like, how? This is an extremely large snake, but yeah, it's just incidents like that. It just kind of made it fun. So
That's good stuff, man. So let's talk about your 2016 trip to Nazala, right? Nazala to Afghanistan.
yeah. Oh, Boglin province.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Pulley Kumri and yeah. Yeah. So 2016 trip, I actually went with a different company because they needed 18 Charlies and so I jumped onto that trip and ended up going with an ODA that was doing a clearance operation in Boglin province. And, their Charlies that they had were all out of the course. And so they wanted somebody that had found some IEDs before and whatnot. So I linked up with them and we did all the trade-ups, then we infilled and it was, I mean, we were in Boglin for about 45 days, but when it came time to do this village clearance of Naizula, we kick off the mission. We're driving in Afghan Humvees because what we wanted to do is every time the Afghans went into this village, they'd get in a fight, they'd get the shit kicked out of them, and then retreat back with licking their wounds. So we were like, okay, well, we'll infill like we're just another Afghan patrol going in. We'll start taking fire, and then we'll call in air support and just absolutely annihilate these dudes. It's like, yeah, it's a good idea. Everything's a good idea until the first round flies across. So, but get out there and we infill in, and everything's going to plan, and we go from mounted to dismounted and start moving up through the first compound, our first objective. And of course it's tucked in nicely behind an orchard, which orchards are bad news, Iraq and Afghanistan. So but we already knew had to clear the orchard, get to this first compound. So far, we heard some ICOM chatter, but nothing crazy. No one knew anything different. It was more just like, yeah, let the guys go and they'll leave. They're all Afghans, blah blah blah. No one knew Americans were on the ground to the best of our knowledge. But so start clearing through the orchard, and we get like, I don't know, halfway through, and it's you got to set the scene. It's dead quiet. It's you're looking for IEDs under nods, which is super horrible.
Yeah.
But out of the just the dead silent, we hear this loud pop. So everyone hits the deck because you're supposed to. And it's like, what was that? Was it sniper fire or something? Like, what in the hell? And so what was it? Jaweed, Abe, and myself were caught up in like this line, and it's like, oh shit, we just hit a tripwire IED that low ordered. It's like, okay, well, that's good, right? Yeah, low ordered. Holy cow, dude. All right, so we it's like, all right, let's pick ourselves up and keep moving. So we do, and that tripwire IED, it was at a corner, at a turn in the path, and we kind of make that turn, and I see movement in the compound, and a guy runs like from the open straight back to the compound wall. I'm just like, oh shit. And then when the Afghans, when you're Afghan NMRG guys, the National Mine Reduction Groups dudes, when they say oh shit, it really means oh shit. And man, that compound wall just erupted in flames everywhere. PKM flame. I mean, it was a PKM engaged us, and it was like 17 meters, 20 meters away, and that flame shot out of that barrel, and it's like you could reach out and grab it, and the whole like side of the compound just lit up with AK fire, muzzle flash everywhere, and everything like that. So yeah, it just we were caught in a pretty good ambush, and which the tripwire IED was supposed to set off. But yeah, they couldn't really get me. We were pinned down, and it's good. They couldn't get an air solution because I was 17 meters away from the target of the PKM, and at that point, it was the most casualty producing weapon on the battlefield because I didn't have a crew serve up with me. We were clearing IEDs. And yeah, the RPG guy kept jumping out and screaming, Allah Akbar, letting them fly. And it's like, holy cow, man, there's tracer fire going everywhere. Overwatch position is engaging them. So there's American fire coming over us, and there's just it looked like a laser light show. It was impressive. But finally the call was made. It's like, if we don't drop, he's dead. They're pinned down in the orchard. They got us in an L shape, so the main element can't even get to them. Like, they're dead. So yeah, the call was made, and our combat controller came over the radio, and he's like, "Dude, this one's gonna be big, bro. Again, good luck." I was like, "Really?" And that thing came screaming in the sky, and he goes, "Weapons released, dude. Keep your head down." Man, that bomb came in and boom, just rocked us. And I felt, I remember like after I was watching the debris kind of fly over us, and I was just thinking like, man, I hope the chunks of this mud hut don't come raining down on me and just like kill me just with the chunks of it. And it did. Yeah, it didn't. But everyone's standing up, and you're trying to like get back to the main element. And you're flopping around like a fish and stuff because he just took a massive dose of overpressure.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just like, boom, man. Wow, we just got rocked. So that started the whole mission, and that was about 02 in the morning. And then we ended up clearing all of Nizula, and got to our LOA, and it's like, all right, let's start moving back. And apparently there was a miscommunication in military doctrine with the Afghans about holding ground that you've taken. I don't know, because they didn't want to stay. It was like, no, you gotta stay. No, stud, this isn't the place. No, it doesn't work that way. So, long story short, we after this conversation's been going on, get alerted that there's individuals moving to a specific, they're like, hey, we don't know where they're going, but we see like 17 individuals at this time moving towards the village. It's like, okay, that's not good. Are they individuals or are they fighting age males? Like, what kind of individuals are we talking about here? And next thing you knew, man, that whole tree line erupts with gunfire, PKM fire strafing up and down the road, RPGs, and so we all jumped for the cover, which was the ditch on either side of the road, and we're trying to return fire, but no one knows. I mean, tree line and basically a U shape around us is just going crazy, and we're trying to get an air solution, and the aircraft are like, dude, we can't see who's who. Like, they're in your lines. We don't know who is who here. So I was, oh crap, man. So now we're close quarter, and then that dreaded, release of a mortar round. We hear that, it's like, oh crap. So they shoot far, and on my position, I start looking around, and I see that Frankie and I, my buddy, because we're the two Charlies, we're all the way in the front because we were clearing, it's like, dude, there's no one around us, man. We got Afghans with us, and Afghans are starting, we got, I think, 3 at this time in the ditch with us, and they're all bloodied up real good. It's like, holy cow. And then that mortar round and it went long, and then it's like, oh shit, okay, let's see what they do. Then the next round, it went short. It was like, now they're about ready to split the difference.
Yeah.
Like we got to get out of here now. And so I grabbed up some other Afghans that were, they were just not wanting to fight. They were hiding in this little hole there, and I yanked one out by the hair, and the other ones followed, thank God. And we had to stay low because there was sniper fire was coming in everywhere, and so you had to do that boot camp duck walk through the damn canal. And I was like, oh, this is why we do it in maps. Okay, makes sense. But yeah, we get to our first place and finally see Americans. Like, okay, there's Joe right there. Good. And they're waving us over to the first CCP, and then we start bringing in the casualties, and then the CCP gets rocked, and they'd moved around through this tunnel system that they had in the area. And now we're taking fire in the CCP, and a couple Afghans got hit in there, and we heard the radio message. I think it was actually before that, but we heard the radio message that came across that kind of stops, all Americans in their tracks, and it's eagle down, eagle down, eagle down. So you don't know how they're down. If they're WIA, if they're KIA, you don't know what the deal is. But once we start getting everybody together, and formulate a plan, now we got 4 Americans shot. We have Afghans that are KIA, WIA. Okay, good. Now we're taking fire inside our CCP. We can't land birds here. But the good news is they gave us distance. So now the bombs are starting to drop. We're like, oh God, now we can start to turn the tide of this. So with air cover, we're able to find another CCP that had a big field out by it where we can start landing medevac and getting our wounded out. And one of the medevac birds is, he had to pull off because he had taken a lot of rounds and he was smoking. And I was like, great, we're about ready to lose the initiative here with a bird down. But he was able to make it back. Another one came in, and we just start loading wounded and bodies, and get to the end to where we have a pretty good handle on what's going on. And it's like, all right, men, weapon, and equipment. And, it's obviously weapons and equipment. You're missing shit all over the battlefield, but it's like men. It's like, okay, we're missing 4. It's like, okay, 4 Afghans. So go back to the CCP, this is all under fire. But thankfully we got a couple of Apaches up ahead. That's really being a nuisance, I guess, to the Taliban. But get back to the first CCP and find, I think it was 2 guys, or find 1 guy there, find 1 guy in the ditch on the way back. They're dead. And then it's like, okay, we're missing 2. We're missing my friend Abe, and then another commando. It's like, where's the last time we saw Abe? It's like, he was all the way up in the front with me. It's like, okay. All the way in the front is 500 meters back up that dirt road, which is basically it's your right and left limit for a machine gunner. Okay, how are we going to do this? So our combat controller is like, well, I got an idea. I'm going to bring back in the Apaches, and they're going to lay waste to everything, and we're going to take off sprint behind them. And we're going to get to the bridge, and hopefully Abe's there. And, yeah, it was crazy because none of the Afghans would go with us. This is an American-led, mission to go recover Afghan, our brothers in arms there. So, there's arguments about it, whatnot, this, bullshit, we're going to get ourselves killed or whatever. It's like, look, no one gets left behind, dude. You know that. No one gets left behind. So this has happened. Cry about it. Don't fucking come there. We'll do it with the guys we got. So Apaches are inbound. Like, look, guys, you can sit here and argue all day. These guys are low on fuel. We got to go. Boom. Apaches come in, start doing their thing, and we just take off hauling ass. And get up to the road, get up to the footbridge where, we first took contact at, and looked in the ditch, and there Abe was, and then the other Afghan commander, they were both dead in the ditch there. But we had found them. So got them out. Finally, we were able to get them out of a ditch, muddy, and they're covered in blood, so it's slick and it's just, and rounds are coming in. So, but get them out of the ditch and start moving back to the CCP we had established, and then we got Abe loaded up, and that was his last flight that he took. But we accounted for everybody. We did, we followed through with one thing that I like to believe that American soldiers will die for, and that's no one gets left behind. So, and we did it right that day. So in the end, we ended up having 8 Afghans KIA, or 10 Afghans KIA, 18 WIA, and 4 Americans WIA. So we stepped in a hornet's nest. That's for damn sure, I guess. Yeah. But it was a crazy day.
And as a result of that day, and I understand how humble you are, and we all appreciate that, but you were also put in and awarded the Silver Star. And can you also tell us about the Frederick Award?
Yeah. So yeah, I got the Silver Star for whatever it was. I don't know. But the Frederick Award, that was pretty cool. One guy out of the regiment a year gets this award, and it's a joint award with the Canadian SF and USSF, because in the beginning, it was basically CANSOF. Well, they weren't CANSOF at the time, but the guys training out of Montana in World War II. But it was the Devil's Brigade, or the Black Devils and whatnot like that. So I got put in for that award, got approved, or got accepted, or got nominated, or whatever. I don't know. And so I got to travel to Canada, and I got it along with another Canadian soft dude, and we still keep in contact today. Great dude. He's running around Syria doing something Canadians like to do, but it was such an honor, because many of the men that I met that day have since passed away. But you got to enjoy the company and just be amongst these real heroes from World War II and this Devil's Brigade, and and so you got to hang out with those dudes and just listen to some of their stories, and then kind of look at yourself and be like, wow, I suck. But it was great. That was probably the greatest honor I've had in the military, was the Frederick Award, for sure.
I don't want to cut anything short, but you also did Afghanistan in 2017. You did it in 2018. As a non-deployable soldier, you did quite a few deployments.
A lot.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would like to say I have a special set of skills that they need, but that's not the case. I'm just dumb enough to where they're like, yeah, he won't shut up. Just send him, man. It's not worth it. Just send him. You don't want to listen to him. So that's what it is. It's not.
Okay. Well, I don't think anybody. I don't think we're buying it, nor is anybody who's watching this. But we'll allow your humility, because
we'll allow it to pass.
We'll let it pass. Can we talk a little bit about? Because this is something we like to talk about on the show, because we do have veterans who watch it who are still sort of wrestling with their own demons and don't really know how to approach them. Can we talk about a little bit about your TBI and sort of how that, how it came, how you expressed it, or how it expressed itself, and sort of how you found yourself back in the civilian world?
Well, I don't know if it's that much about the TBI.
Okay.
I mean, I've had quite a few TBIs, but I would say that it's more about. I would say it's more about the. I don't know, just the emotions of everything, and kind of going through, mentally trying to process everything that I'd been through, or everything that I thought I had seen up to that point, or, so, but yeah, it's, getting back into the civilian world, and definitely kind of wearing that kind of that victimized, or not really victimized, but like that entitlement role of, oh, you don't know what I've been through. You don't know, but not outright saying it to somebody, but in the back of your mind, you're definitely, you wear that kind of like that, not really a badge of honor, but that kind of like that, well, fuck it, man, that pity party. You don't know what I've seen. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know where, and all this other stuff. And getting back in the civilian world, I had a hard time. Well, not getting back. It's not like I was in World War II, gone for 2 years, and then. But no, I came to a point to where I was really struggling with who I was, and I felt entitled to the incidents or the situations that I've been in deployed. And I felt this entitlement to it, to a point to where I started pushing people away from me. I was a very angry person, and I just had, a lot of those situations pop up that, that allowed my entitlement victimization mindset to play into, which is, it's basically all a big poor me pity party is what it was, because you think that you've gone through so much, and people need to know, and you got to respect this, and I deserve this, and all this other thing, which in the end I failed to realize, no, the fuck you don't. And guess what? As much as you think you've been through this or this, people have been through worse. And man, it's you need to get over yourself and understand that nobody owes you anything, and you don't deserve, like, just because you think you've been through some shit, you deserve this, or you're entitled to this. Like, no, stud, get over yourself, man. And I do see that is an issue with a lot of veterans today, is they can't let go of the mindset of, like, do you know what I've been through? Well, no, they weren't there. They're not going to know what you've been through.
Right.
And for you to try and force that on somebody else, number one, who the fuck are you? And number two, how is that fair?
Yeah. How could they know?
Else? How are they going to ever know? And so someone could thank you for your service until they're just blue in the face and don't have an idea what to do for you. And you segregate yourself, and you shut yourself off from everybody and push everyone away from you, because no one's going to understand, or no one knows, or all this other stuff, and to the point to where you're alone. And then that's where people, veterans start to do some stupid shit that you can't recover from. So
I think that there is some aspect of veterans sometimes, especially combat veterans, holding this expectation. But I also know, like some of the things you described in your book, like sort of your ramping up, towards a bar fight, or your road rage. Like, we've heard of that before, and that's not necessarily just a sense of entitlement. That's right. That's a combination of TBIs and post-traumatic stress, and having a hard time going, from 100 miles an hour back down to zero, and 100 miles an hour back down to zero. Like, I feel as though sometimes I totally understand what you mean about the sort of entitlement. Like, you don't know what I've been through, which is true. But
I don't want to cut you guys off, but I gotta get going.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
There's people are starting to move around, and
Yeah.
I can't be hogging up everything right
Yeah,
now. So
we totally appreciate it. We really appreciate your time, Ryan. Hey, everybody, please, on Amazon, Barnes Note, wherever your fine booksellers are, please check out Tip of the Spear. It's an amazing book. Ryan's an amazing human being. Very humble. We really appreciate you taking time out of You got up at what, 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning to be with us?
yeah, about 3:30 in the
Yeah.
morning, and it's about 6:30 now. So
well,
and
people
now
are starting to move around, and I
that-
gotta let them.
Ryan has got to
Yeah.
get back to doing, real
Real
humanitarian
stuff, yeah.
work in a war zone
Yeah.
right now in Ukraine.
Yeah.
So no, we really do appreciate it, Ryan. Please, folks, check out his book, and we will post some links down in the description to his social media where you can see some of the stuff he's up to now and get in touch with him. So yeah, man. Oh no, I really do appreciate you sharing your story with us tonight and sharing some of your experiences from Ukraine.
Yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you very much. And yeah, this was badass. So I know we could continue on for
Sure.
a couple more hours, but yeah, I gotta
When,
go. I'm sorry
when you
about
get back
that.
to the United States sometime, we'll have another conversation sometime.
Yeah.
Happy to.
We appreciate you, man.
There you go. There you go, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Take care.